I came home to see the CEO cooking for me. Then she said, I'm staying the night. After a long 12-hour shift at VastCorp's Neotakara research facility, he had expected to walk into the usual silence, the hum of his air purifier, and maybe the faint smell of burnt coffee from this morning. What he didn't expect was the smell of garlic, onions, and something rich and sizzling. Frowning, Alex dropped his bag by the door and followed the smell. His heart beat faster as he approached the kitchen. There, standing in front of the stove, was Evelyn Kane, CEO of VastCorp, the same woman whose face was on every corporate advertisement in the city, whose decisions affected thousands, whose reputation could make or break careers. And she was cooking. Alex froze. He blinked twice. Hi, he said, his voice small. Evelyn turned with a smile that was both warm and mischievous. She held a spatula in one hand and a frying pan in the other. Hey, Alex, she said casually, as if she were a neighbor dropping by rather than the most powerful person in the company. I thought I'd try cooking tonight. I figured someone at home might appreciate it. Alex's mind raced. Is this a prank? Did someone hire her for some corporate morale stunt? Am I dreaming? Cooking for me? He asked, unable to hide the disbelief. Evelyn laughed softly, a sound that was rare in boardrooms and press conferences. Yes, for you, don't look so scared. I promise I didn't hack into your apartment. Alex scratched the back of his neck, still unsure if he should step back or step closer. I don't even know what to say. Say nothing, Evelyn replied with a wink. Just eat. I made enough for two and I think it's edible. She held out a plate of steaming food, a colorful mix of vegetables, lab-grown protein, and something that smelled faintly of spices Alex couldn't identify. Despite his nervousness, hunger won. Alex took the plate and settled at the small kitchen table. The moment he took a bite, he realized it was amazing. Every flavor was distinct, balanced, and somehow comforting. This is really good, Alex said, his eyes widening. I didn't know you could cook. Evelyn shrugged, though there was a faint glow of pride in her eyes. I didn't, until last week. I read a book on cooking techniques from the old Earth colonies, and I thought, why not try? It's different from managing a corporation, but satisfying in its own way. Alex laughed nervously, unsure if he should ask more questions or just keep eating. Different, yeah, I can imagine. Usually people see you giving orders, making deals, giving speeches, not cooking dinner. Evelyn leaned against the counter, arms crossed, still smiling. People are complicated. The CEO isn't just a title. I can be serious, intimidating, and corporate, but I can also be human. I can enjoy small things, like cooking a meal or talking to someone without an agenda. Alex felt a strange mix of awe and curiosity. Here was the woman who made company-wide decisions, who appeared on news broadcasts explaining vast technological advances, standing in his tiny kitchen explaining human emotions over dinner. It was surreal. After a pause, Evelyn asked, So, how was your day? Alex sighed. Busy, stressful, fixing circuits, debugging programs, saving a tiny colony AI from throwing a city's energy grid into chaos. He laughed bitterly. The usual. Evelyn raised an eyebrow. Saving a colony AI, that sounds important and dangerous. Well, not exactly dangerous, just tedious if you don't know what you're doing. Evelyn's eyes sparkled. I like people who dive into problems without thinking about danger first. Makes life interesting. She paused, then leaned a little closer, voice softer. I came here because I wanted to see the people behind the machines. You're part of the team that makes interstellar colonization possible. I want to know you beyond your ID number. Alex blinked. No CEO had ever said anything like that to him. Usually their interactions were limited to automated messages, performance reviews, or brief handshakes in the lobby. And here she was, speaking honestly, casually, like they were friends. He swallowed hard. I don't know what to say. You don't have to, Evelyn said, gesturing to the food. Just eat, enjoy, we'll talk more later. There was something comforting in her presence. Alex felt the tension of the long workday slowly melt away. He noticed small things he had never seen before: the faint scar on her wrist, probably from childhood, the delicate curve of her smile, the intensity of her eyes that could command a room but now softened in his small kitchen. As they ate, Alex found himself asking questions he never thought he'd ask a CEO. Why Neotakara? Why this company? Evelyn set her fork down thoughtfully. I grew up in the outer colonies. Life was hard there, limited resources, harsh conditions. I always wanted to make life better for people. Vast Corp gives me that chance. It's not just about profits, it's about progress, about humanity reaching for the stars. Alex nodded slowly. He had heard this type of speech before in conferences, but hearing it now, quietly, personally, felt different, more real. And cooking? He asked, still curious. Evelyn laughed again. Cooking is control in a small, predictable way. In the lab or at Vast Corp, control is large, impersonal, often frustrating. Cooking is immediate. You see results. You taste success. It's human. There was a quiet moment as both of them ate, the only sound the soft sizzling from the pan and the hum of the air purifier. Alex realized he wasn't just eating dinner. He was experiencing something rare, a glimpse into the life of someone whose decisions shaped humanity's future. Then, without warning, Evelyn looked at the communicator on her wrist. The soft blue light reflected in her eyes. She didn't move, just let it pulse. Alex frowned. You have to go, she shook her head slowly, a small, amused smile forming. No, I could leave, but I think I'm staying the night. Alex choked on his bite. The night? Evelyn nodded. Yes, I want to see more, ask questions. Maybe experiment with some ideas I have for the terraforming AI project. I figure, since you're here, we might as well make tonight productive. Alex's mind spun. A CEO staying in his apartment. It was impossible, unreal, dangerous even. But there was something in her tone, sincere, calm, and human, that made it feel right. Okay, he said finally. Sure, I mean if you want to. Evelyn laughed softly, that warm, disarming sound again. Good, let's start with something simple. I brought an idea for the AI system. We can run some simulations on your personal rig. Nothing risky, just theoretical tests. Alex hesitated, then nodded. All right, let's see what you've got. For the next hour, the small kitchen transformed into a mini-lab. Holographic projections floated above the counter, showing streams of code, planetary maps, and simulated environments. Evelyn explained her ideas in simple, clear terms, making complex problems seem approachable. Alex, normally nervous in her presence, found himself contributing suggestions, debating methods, and laughing at small jokes she made. It was exhilarating. Alex had never felt this alive after a workday. Usually he came home, ate a cold meal, and watched old Holovids until sleep. Tonight was different. Tonight, humanity, in the form of a brilliant CEO and a curious engineer, was alive in the small apartment, plotting solutions for the stars. As the night deepened, the city outside shimmered with neon lights and the distant hum of hovercars. Alex looked at Evelyn, realizing that the person who once seemed untouchable and remote was now approachable, relatable, and genuinely human. And then she smiled again, softly, almost mischievously. Sleep is optional, she said. We have work to do. Alex laughed nervously. I think I can manage a few more hours. And for the first time in a long time, he felt truly excited. The night was just beginning. The night in Neotakara stretched on, glowing faintly through the apartment's windows. Outside, the city never slept. Hovercars zipped between skyscrapers, neon signs flickered, and drones patrolled the streets below. Inside, the apartment was quiet except for the faint hum of Alex's rig and Evelyn's occasional notes as she examined code. Alex watched her work, still amazed that the CEO of Vast Corp, the woman whose decisions affected thousands, was here, leaning over his setup, pointing at holographic projections, and explaining ideas as if they were colleagues in a small team rather than CEO and employee. You see, Evelyn said, tapping a floating diagram, if we optimize the AI's environmental feedback loop, it could reduce energy consumption by nearly 17%. That may not sound like much in your apartment, but on a colony-wide scale, it's massive. Alex leaned closer. 17%, that's huge. And doable? Evelyn shrugged. It's possible, that's why I'm here. I want someone who understands the hardware side to help me think through it. I could do it at the office, but sometimes small spaces give better clarity. Alex felt a mix of awe and nervousness. I can try, but this is complicated. She gave him a soft smile. I know, that's why I asked you. The next hour passed in a surprising rhythm. Alex suggested adjustments to code structure and data flow. Evelyn listened, questioned, and occasionally laughed at small mistakes he made, not in a mocking way, but with genuine warmth. For someone so high up in the corporate world, she was human, fully human. At one point, Alex hesitated, glancing at her. Can I ask why you're here? I mean really here, not the corporate tour or press events, not meetings or reports. Why my apartment? Evelyn paused, leaning back, her eyes reflecting the soft light of the holograms. Because, she said slowly, most people see me as the CEO. They see the public image, confident, intimidating, unapproachable. But the truth is, I want to see the people who make this company, this dream possible, people like you. Alex blinked. People like me. Yes, Evelyn said, her voice quieter now, almost reflective. The ones who turn my visions into reality. You design, you code, you fix things I can only theorize about. You make the future happen. And sometimes I want to understand what motivates those people. Alex's chest tightened. Nobody, not a manager, not a coworker, had ever said anything like that. I don't know what to say. Then don't say anything, she said with a small laugh. Just show me how your mind works. That's more interesting than words. They spent the next hours experimenting with the AI's simulations. Alex noticed subtle things about Evelyn, the way she focused on patterns, how her mind could process multiple variables at once, yet she was patient, explaining each step carefully when he asked questions. She wasn't just brilliant, she was inspiring. You know, Alex said after a particularly tricky adjustment worked, most CEOs don't get involved like this. They delegate everything. Why are you different? Evelyn paused again, gazing at the projections. Because someone has to care. Not just about results, not just about profits, but about the people who live and work with the technology. If I just stay in the boardroom, decisions happen, yes, but no one feels connected. And connection matters. Humanity matters. Alex nodded, absorbing her words. For the first time, he felt the weight of his work not as a series of tasks, but as a contribution to something bigger, something human. You ever get scared? Alex asked quietly. I mean, managing a company, creating technology that affects colonies, it's a lot of responsibility. Evelyn's expression softened. Every day, but fear isn't bad. It keeps you aware, keeps you cautious. The trick is not letting it stop you. I focus on what I can control and trust the people around me. You, for example, I trust you to think, to act, to innovate. That trust, that's how we succeed. Alex felt a strange warmth, not from the room or the cooking earlier, but from understanding her. Here was a person carrying enormous responsibility, yet finding time to care about individuals. It was human. Too human, some might say, for a CEO. Hours passed. The city outside blurred into streaks of neon as Alex and Evelyn tested simulations. Occasionally, they paused to sip nutrient drinks or nibble on snacks Evelyn had brought. During these pauses, their conversation shifted from technical to personal. You ever miss the outer colonies? Alex asked. Evelyn's gaze softened. Sometimes. Life there was harsh, but it taught me resilience. You learn to fix things with limited resources, to survive with ingenuity. Those lessons stay with you, even when you're running a megacorporation in a city like Neo Dakara. Alex smiled. I can't imagine life out there. I mean, the city is intense enough. It is, Evelyn said, nodding. But it's nothing compared to survival on a frontier world. You learn fast, you adapt, and you find ways to thrive. That's what I want to bring to our colonies. Humanity isn't just about technology or exploration, it's about the spirit to survive, to create, to improve. That's what makes us strong. Alex looked at her, fascinated. You really think about this a lot, don't you? Evelyn laughed softly. Of course. You can't build a future without thinking about the people in it. And I want to build a future where humans are capable of anything. That's why I stay awake at night, thinking, planning, experimenting. Alex realized that this was why she was here, not because of duty or PR, but because she wanted human connection. She wanted to understand the people who made her vision possible. And in doing so, she reminded him why he loved what he did. At some point, Alex noticed Evelyn leaning back in his chair, her gaze distant. You ever feel alone even when surrounded by people? She asked quietly. Alex thought for a moment. Yeah, I think everyone does sometimes, even at work, even in a city like this. Evelyn nodded slowly. Exactly, and that's why I stay connected. I can't control everything in the universe, but I can connect with people. I can help them, inspire them, understand them. That's as important as any technological breakthrough. Alex felt a deep respect growing inside him. He had admired her before, her intellect, her leadership, but now he admired her humanity. She was brilliant, yes, but she also cared. And in a world of corporations, robots, and interstellar colonization, humanity was the rarest thing of all. The night deepened. The city outside seemed quieter, though Alex knew it was. Inside the apartment, a sense of calm and focus enveloped them. For hours, they talked, experimented, and shared stories. Evelyn told him about growing up in the colonies, learning engineering from scraps of old manuals, and dreaming of stars. Alex shared tales of his first programming attempts, failures, and small triumphs that led him to Vast Corp. At one point, Evelyn glanced at the clock. It's late, she said softly. We've been at this for hours, but I'm not ready to stop. Alex raised an eyebrow. You usually sleep at this hour, she smiled faintly. Sometimes, but sleep is secondary when there's work to be done, ideas to explore. Besides, company makes time pass faster. Alex laughed quietly, feeling the tension of the long workday melt completely. I guess so. This is fun. Evelyn's smile widened. Good, that's how innovation happens. When work feels like play, your mind is free to create. And in that moment, Alex realized something profound. The CEO, the woman who seemed untouchable, remote, and intimidating, was nothing without humanity. And that humanity, combined with brilliance and determination, made her extraordinary. Tomorrow, Evelyn said suddenly, we'll continue optimizing the AI. But tonight, I want to understand more about you. Not your job, not your tasks, you. Alex swallowed, feeling both nervous and honored. Me, you really want to know me? Yes, Evelyn said simply. Everyone has a story. I want to hear yours. The night stretched on, filled with conversation, laughter, and quiet moments of reflection. Outside, the city continued its relentless rhythm, unaware that in a small apartment, two humans, one CEO, one engineer, were sharing not just work, but understanding, respect, and connection. And Alex knew deep down that this night was only the beginning. Because humanity, in the form of curiosity, ingenuity, and empathy, was at the heart of everything they were building together, the apartment felt alive. Soft light from the holographic projections danced on the walls, reflecting streams of code, planetary terrain maps, and simulations of AI-controlled colonies. Outside, Neotakara's neon skyline pulsed like the heartbeat of the city, but inside it was different, quiet, focused, and intensely human. Alex sat at the desk, fingers flying across the keyboard, while Evelyn leaned over the hologram console, pointing out potential adjustments in the AI's terraforming algorithm. You see this, Evelyn said, highlighting a cluster of data points. The energy efficiency drops slightly when we try to balance the atmospheric pressure simulation. Most engineers would ignore it, but even small inefficiencies compound on a colony scale. 1% can mean thousands of unnecessary resource units lost. Alex nodded, trying to absorb everything. Okay, so we optimize this loop and the system self-corrects faster, but that might overload the cooling units if we push it too hard. Evelyn tapped her fingers thoughtfully. True, but we can adjust the distribution protocol. We'll reroute excess energy to auxiliary systems, prevent overload, and still maintain efficiency. It's risky, but calculated risk is human ingenuity at work. Alex smiled. Human ingenuity. That phrase stuck with him. It wasn't just a slogan, it was a philosophy. And here was Evelyn living it. For hours they worked together, running simulations, adjusting parameters, testing results, and occasionally pausing to discuss theoretical scenarios. The AI, named Aurora, was a masterpiece, a self-learning system designed to terraform harsh planetary environments for human colonies. But even the most advanced AI had limits, and that was why Evelyn had brought Alex here. Let's test Aurora under extreme conditions, Evelyn suggested, leaning closer. Simulate a sudden storm on the colony, atmospheric pressure spike, and rapid temperature changes. I want to see how it adapts in real time. Alex hesitated. That's risky. If the simulation fails, the feedback loops might crash the system. Evelyn's eyes gleamed with determination. Exactly. That's why we do it here in a controlled environment. No lives are at stake, only our ingenuity. Alex took a deep breath and initiated the simulation. Instantly, the holographic colony landscape shifted. Swirling clouds, torrential rain, and sudden energy surges appeared across the virtual planet. Aurora's neural network lit up as it began adapting, rerouting power, stabilizing environmental systems, and adjusting colony habitats. Look at that, Evelyn whispered. It's learning faster than I expected. Alex leaned forward, analyzing the data. Yes, but see here. The pressure spike isn't balanced perfectly in the northern sector. If this were real, the energy distribution would fail. Evelyn nodded. We can fix that, but first, I want to see how it self-corrects under stress. Let's push it further. Minutes passed, each filled with intense observation. Then suddenly, alarms blinked on the projection console. The system flagged a critical malfunction. Alex's stomach dropped. Evelyn, he said cautiously, I think something's wrong. The feedback loop, it's unstable. Evelyn's expression sharpened, but there was no panic. Show me the data. She leaned closer, scanning the code streams and the simulation logs. The auxiliary distribution protocol isn't responding fast enough. Aurora is trying to compensate, but it's creating a recursive overload. Alex swallowed. So it could crash the system. Potentially, Evelyn said calmly. But that's why we run simulations, to test limits, to learn, stay calm, think logically. Together, they worked methodically. Alex suggested rerouting power manually through temporary nodes while Evelyn reprogrammed the AI's error-handling protocols. Sweat formed on Alex's forehead. The clock on the wall showed 2:30 a.m., but time felt irrelevant. They were focused entirely on the problem. You see this line? Evelyn asked, pointing at a projection. Aurora is trying to compensate with outdated parameters. We need to override it with adaptive real-time learning. Here, she typed quickly, eyes flicking between Alex's suggestions and her own code. Alex followed her instructions, feeling the thrill of working at the edge of possibility. It wasn't just programming, it was thinking like a human, acting like a team, solving problems together. After tense minutes, the simulation stabilized. Aurora corrected itself, redistributing energy efficiently and maintaining colony integrity. Alex exhaled. We did it. Evelyn smiled, but it wasn't the triumphant smile of a CEO celebrating a victory. It was quiet pride, the kind that came from seeing human effort succeed. Yes, we did. That's why collaboration matters. Technology is only as good as the people guiding it. Alex leaned back in his chair, exhausted but exhilarated. I've never felt this way at work before. Usually I just follow instructions. Now I feel like we actually contributed something. Evelyn nodded, her expression thoughtful. That's the difference between humans and AI. AI follows rules. Humans think, adapt, and create solutions no machine can predict. That is our greatest strength. Alex realized she was right. In the simulated storm, in the face of potential system collapse, it wasn't the code alone that saved the day. It was their human intuition, judgment, and ingenuity. For a moment, the apartment was silent except for the soft hum of equipment. Outside, Neo Dakara's lights flickered, but inside, time felt suspended. Alex glanced at Evelyn. You really think humans can handle interstellar colonization, that we can survive on other worlds? Evelyn's eyes shone. I don't just think it, I know it. Humans are adaptable, curious, resourceful. We survive because we refuse to give up, no matter how hostile the environment. That's why we'll thrive on new worlds long after machines have forgotten us. Alex smiled, inspired. He had heard these ideas before, in lectures or reports, but hearing them now from someone so brilliant and human made it real. He felt small and yet powerful at the same time, like a single spark in the larger blaze of human achievement. The night stretched on, and exhaustion crept in, but neither Alex nor Evelyn wanted to stop. They continued testing Aurora under various scenarios: meteor strikes, solar flares, and sudden resource shortages. Each time the AI adapted, but it was clear that human oversight was critical. They were the ones making judgment calls, balancing logic with intuition. Around 4:00 a.m., they paused to sip nutrient drinks. Alex's hand shook slightly from caffeine and adrenaline. I didn't know working with you would be this intense, he admitted. Evelyn laughed softly, sitting back in the chair. It's supposed to be intense. Real challenges demand real focus. But notice how much fun it is too. That's the key. Challenge without curiosity is tedious. Curiosity without challenge is pointless. Together they make innovation happen. Alex thought about that. It makes sense. I've never looked at work this way. Usually it's just tasks and deadlines. Tasks and deadlines don't build humanity, Evelyn said quietly. Innovation does. Ingenuity does. And the small acts of problem solving, like what we just did, are how humans survive, thrive, and expand beyond their limits. Alex realized she was right. In that tiny apartment, in the middle of a city millions strong, they had done something extraordinary. They had tested the limits of a colony AI and survived, not because the AI was perfect, but because human minds were guiding it. After a long pause, Evelyn glanced at the clock. We should rest soon. The city will wake and our minds will need strength to continue tomorrow. Alex hesitated. Rest, after all this? Evelyn smiled softly. Yes, even the most brilliant minds need rest, but remember this night. Remember that humans are capable of extraordinary things when they work together. Alex nodded. He felt exhausted, yes, but also energized. Something had changed in him. He no longer saw his job as tedious or small. Tonight he had collaborated with a human mind capable of shaping the future, and that had inspired him. Evelyn stood, stretching slightly. Tomorrow we continue, but tonight sleep. She paused, looking around the small apartment as if seeing it with new eyes. And thank you, Alex, for letting me invade your home. It helped me understand more than I expected. Alex laughed quietly. It's been the strangest, most exciting night of my life. I'm glad you came. She gave him a soft nod, her eyes warm. So am I. As she left to rest on the couch, Alex stared at the city outside, the neon lights reflecting in his tired but hopeful eyes. The night had tested them, inspired them, and reminded him of the power of humanity, ingenuity, collaboration, and resilience. And he knew that tomorrow, the mission would continue. Because humanity wasn't just surviving, it was thriving, even in the face of challenges no AI alone could handle. And in that small apartment, two humans had proven that together, they were capable of extraordinary things. The city outside Neotakara's windows seemed endless, its neon lights flickering like distant stars. Inside the apartment, the glow came from holographic projections of Aurora, the colony AI. The simulated world on the screens was alive. Swirling clouds, rising oceans, shifting terrain, a small but complete ecosystem under human guidance. Alex stared at the projections, his fingers hovering over the keyboard. Sweat beaded on his forehead and his heart pounded. Evelyn, something's happening. Aurora isn't responding the way we expected. The energy distribution, it's fluctuating too fast. Evelyn's eyes narrowed. She leaned closer, scanning streams of data projected above the table. I see it. The recursive overload from before, it's repeating, but in a more complex pattern. Aurora is trying to adapt, but the storm scenario is pushing its calculations beyond standard parameters. Alex swallowed. So it could crash. Potentially, Evelyn said calmly, though her voice carried a quiet intensity. And if it crashes, we could lose all the simulation data. But this is exactly why we do tests, not in the field, not with real colonies, but here, in a safe environment. Failure teaches us faster than success. Alex nodded, though his nerves tightened. He had never faced anything like this before. In class or at the office, errors were small bugs in code, failed prototypes. But tonight, he was on the edge of something bigger. Something that tested not just skill, but intuition, judgment, and patience. Okay, Alex said, taking a deep breath. What do we do? Evelyn didn't answer immediately. She studied the data, her mind moving through possibilities with precision and speed. We need to override Aurora's standard protocols manually, redirect power to stabilizers, and initiate adaptive feedback loops. It's risky, but it's the only way to regain control. Alex's hands shook slightly as he followed her instructions. I hope this works. Evelyn placed a hand briefly on his shoulder. It will. Trust your instincts. That's what humans do best. Together, they initiated the emergency protocols. The holographic colony trembled under simulated meteor showers and lightning strikes. Aurora's neural network lit up frantically, processing the flood of new data, rerouting energy, and stabilizing habitats. The apartment was filled with the soft hum of machines, punctuated by alarms and flashing indicators. Steady, Evelyn said, her voice calm but firm. Check the northern sector. That's where the overload is strongest. Alex focused, rerouting virtual power grids, adjusting parameters, and watching as Aurora struggled to maintain equilibrium. He realized this wasn't just coding, it was thinking like a human under pressure, making judgment calls that no AI could fully predict. Minutes felt like hours. Sweat dripped from Alex's brow and his fingers ached from constant typing. But Evelyn never faltered. She analyzed, recalculated, and adjusted the system in real time. Her focus was absolute, her calm intensity contagious. Then a warning flashed in bold red on the projection. Critical failure imminent, override required. Alex froze. Evelyn, it's not enough. Aurora's feedback loops are collapsing faster than we can adjust. Evelyn's gaze sharpened. Then we go to manual override. I'll guide you. For the next tense moments, they worked in perfect coordination. Evelyn directed, Alex executed, and Aurora responded incrementally. Each adjustment brought the system closer to stability. Each second passed with the weight of a real colony hanging in the balance, even if only simulated. Alex could feel his heart racing, but he also felt alive. Every calculation mattered, every decision carried weight, and every small success was exhilarating. Adjust the atmospheric stabilizers by 0.7% now, Evelyn commanded. Alex typed rapidly, executing her instructions. The holographic skies began to clear slightly, the simulated wind slowed, and Aurora began to regain balance. "It's working," Alex whispered, disbelief and relief mixing in his voice. "Yes," Evelyn said, her eyes softening slightly. "But don't relax yet. We need full stabilization." They continued, step by step, pushing Aurora to adapt beyond its original programming. Alex noticed subtle things about Evelyn, the way she anticipated issues before they appeared, the quiet confidence in her guidance, and the way she trusted him to act decisively. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, the simulation stabilized completely. Aurora's network glowed steadily, maintaining the colony with precision, and the alarm ceased. Alex leaned back, exhaling heavily. "We did it." Evelyn smiled, but it was not the triumphant smile of a CEO celebrating success. It was quieter, more profound pride in human effort, in teamwork, in ingenuity. "Yes, that's why I stay awake at night, to witness what humans are capable of. Technology is important, yes, but humanity, judgment, intuition, courage, that's what saves the day." Alex felt a rush of respect. It wasn't just Evelyn's intelligence that impressed him, but her faith in humans, in him, in themselves, in the collaboration that had saved the simulation. For a moment, they sat in silence, watching Aurora stabilize the virtual colony. Outside, Neotakara never stopped moving, but inside, time seemed suspended. "You really trust humans," Alex said quietly. Evelyn nodded. "I do. Machines are tools. AI is powerful, yes, but it lacks intuition, empathy, and creativity. Humans have flaws, yes, but those flaws also allow innovation, adaptation, and survival. That is our greatest strength." Alex thought about that. He had always been proud of his work, but tonight he felt pride in humanity itself. The night had tested him, pushed him to his limits, and yet he had emerged capable, guided by Evelyn's leadership and his own instincts. Then Evelyn spoke again, softer this time. "You know, Alex, every successful mission, every colony we stabilize, every innovation we achieve, it comes down to nights like this. Collaboration, trust, ingenuity. Small actions by human hands make the impossible possible." Alex smiled faintly, feeling the truth in her words. "I never thought work could feel like this. Exciting, important, alive." "That's because you've been seeing it wrong," Evelyn said gently. "It's not about tasks or deadlines. It's about contribution, creativity, and connection. That's what humanity brings to the stars." He nodded, inspired though exhausted. The apartment was quiet again except for the hum of the equipment. They had faced a critical test and succeeded, not because machines were perfect, but because human minds guided them with ingenuity and courage. Evelyn leaned back in her chair, stretching slightly. "We've earned a small break, but tomorrow we continue. There's still more to test, more to learn, and more colonies to prepare." Alex laughed quietly. I think I can manage a few more hours if necessary." Evelyn gave him a soft, amused smile. "Good, but even the most capable humans need rest. Don't forget that." Alex realized that the night had changed him. He no longer saw himself as a small, replaceable engineer. Tonight, he had faced a crisis alongside the CEO of Vast Corp, contributing to something that mattered. He had seen human ingenuity in action, humanity triumphing through collaboration, trust, and problem-solving. And he knew that tomorrow the challenge would continue, perhaps even greater than tonight. But he was ready, because humanity, curiosity, ingenuity, and resilience was unstoppable. And in that small apartment, two humans had proven it. Morning came slowly in Neotakara. Soft sunlight filtered through the tall skyscrapers, reflecting off the glass and metal surfaces of the city. Inside Alex's apartment, the hum of the equipment had quieted, leaving only the soft rhythm of life in motion. Alex stretched, feeling every muscle stiff from the long night of simulations and problem-solving. He glanced at the holographic projections still floating above the desk. "Aurora, the AI, now ran smoothly under the adjustments he and Evelyn had made. The virtual colony was stable, the storms cleared, and the simulated habitats thrived. Evelyn stirred on the couch, wrapped in a blanket, a soft smile on her face. She looked both exhausted and satisfied, the glow of triumph in her eyes unmistakable. Alex watched her for a moment, realizing how extraordinary this night had been and how human. "You awake?" she asked, her voice soft. "Yeah," Alex replied, rubbing his eyes. "I can't believe how much we did last night." Evelyn stretched, yawning quietly. "Neither can I. But it's good. Nights like this remind me why I do what I do, not just for the colonies or the company, but for people like you." Alex felt a warmth spread in his chest. "For me?" "Yes," she said simply. "You work hard, you think creatively. You care about more than just tasks and deadlines. That matters," he smiled, slightly embarrassed. "I didn't expect this at all. A CEO in my apartment working through the night, it's surreal." Evelyn laughed softly, a gentle sound that filled the small apartment. "Life is full of surprises, Alex. The important thing is what we do with them." Breakfast was a quiet affair. Evelyn had prepared a simple meal, nutrient packs, fresh fruit, and synthesized coffee. They ate together, the silence comfortable, the occasional comment or joke breaking the quiet. For Alex, it was a strange but comforting start to the day, sharing food and conversation with someone who usually seemed untouchable. After breakfast, they returned to Aurora's projections. Evelyn reviewed the system logs while Alex checked the simulations for anomalies. The AI now ran efficiently, adapting in real time to environmental changes with the improvements they had implemented. "You've done excellent work," Evelyn said, her eyes scanning Alex's adjustments. "You anticipated problems I hadn't noticed until I saw your calculations. That kind of insight, it's rare." Alex shrugged, feeling both proud and humble. "I just followed your lead mostly." "You know the system better than anyone." She shook her head. "No, you understood the system, you thought critically, and you acted decisively. That's why this worked. That's why humanity works. Not one person alone, but people working together." Alex realized that what she was saying applied not just to the AI, but to life itself. Humans were capable of extraordinary things, not because they were perfect, but because they worked together, trusted one another, and adapted to challenges. For the next few hours, they ran additional tests. Aurora adapted smoothly to new conditions: sudden temperature drops, simulated electrical failures, and rapid atmospheric changes. Each test confirmed what Alex had begun to understand the night before, that human oversight and ingenuity were indispensable. The AI could calculate, predict, and respond, but it could not think creatively or make judgment calls the way humans could. At one point, Evelyn paused, leaning back in her chair. "You know," she said thoughtfully, "this project, it's bigger than any of us individually. But moments like this, late nights, intense focus, collaboration, that's where progress is born. That's where humanity proves itself." Alex nodded, feeling a mix of exhaustion and exhilaration. I think I understand now. It's not just about programming or AI or colonies. It's about what humans can do together." Evelyn smiled, a quiet pride in her expression. "Exactly. And that's why I stayed the night. Not just to test Aurora, but to remind myself that people, ordinary people, can accomplish extraordinary things." Alex paused, looking at her. "You really think that about us? About people like me?" "Yes," Evelyn said firmly. "Humans are capable of amazing things when they are trusted, supported, and allowed to use their creativity. That's the essence of progress. That's why we explore, innovate, and survive." For a long moment they sat in silence, watching Aurora adapt to simulated storms and natural disasters. Outside, Neodakara moved in its relentless rhythm, but inside there was a quiet sense of triumph, reflection, and shared understanding. Finally, Evelyn stood, stretching her arms above her head. "We've tested enough for one night. Aurora is stable. The system is efficient, and more importantly, we've proven what humans can do together. Alex smiled. I feel different, inspired. Like I can actually make a difference. That's the point, Evelyn said, walking toward the door. Remember, Alex, this is just the beginning. There will be challenges, failures, and surprises ahead. But the way humans respond with ingenuity, resilience, and collaboration, that's what matters most. Alex nodded, feeling a profound sense of respect and admiration for her. Thank you for staying, for trusting me, for everything. Evelyn paused, placing a hand lightly on the doorframe. No thanks necessary. Just keep doing what you're doing. Keep thinking, creating, and trusting yourself. Humanity's future depends on people like you. And then, with a soft smile, she left the apartment, leaving Alex alone with Aurora and the soft hum of the equipment. For a moment, he felt a pang of emptiness. The night had been extraordinary, intense, and inspiring, and now it was over. But he also felt a sense of purpose. He had seen the power of human ingenuity firsthand, and he knew it was his responsibility to continue building, learning, and contributing. He looked at Aurora's stable projections and felt a surge of determination. This AI, this project, this collaboration, it was proof that humanity could thrive even in the most challenging circumstances. Later that day, Alex returned to his usual work at Vast Corp, but he carried with him the lessons of the night. He approached problems differently, thought more creatively, and collaborated more openly with his colleagues. He no longer saw himself as just a small engineer in a giant corporation. He saw himself as part of a larger mission, a human contributing to humanity's future among the stars. Weeks passed, and the results of that night became apparent. Aurora's new algorithms performed flawlessly in simulations. Energy efficiency improved, environmental stability increased, and the system learned faster than any previous iteration. Alex's contributions were recognized, not just by Evelyn, but by the team, who noticed his innovative solutions and calm problem-solving under pressure. One evening, as he returned to his apartment, Alex noticed a small envelope on the counter. Inside was a simple note, written in Evelyn's neat handwriting. "Dinner next week, same time, same lab." Alex smiled, feeling a mixture of pride, excitement, and inspiration. The night had been about collaboration, ingenuity, and understanding humanity's potential. And now it seemed it would continue. He set the note down and looked at Aurora's holographic projections. Humanity had challenges ahead, yes, but it also had ingenuity, creativity, and resilience. And he was part of that. Sitting at his desk, Alex reflected on everything that had happened. A CEO had come into his home, worked through the night, and reminded him of something he had always known deep down. Humans were capable of extraordinary things, not because of machines, not because of technology, but because of their creativity, determination, and collaboration. And that realization made him feel unstoppable, because humanity's journey was just beginning. The stars awaited, the colonies were coming, and humans, brilliant, flawed, ingenious humans, would rise to the challenge. Alex leaned back in his chair, watching Aurora's network glow steadily. He felt proud, inspired, and ready for whatever came next. The night with Evelyn had changed him, not just as an engineer, but as a human. For the first time, he truly understood the power of humanity thriving against challenges, guided by ingenuity, curiosity, and trust. And he knew one thing for certain: the future was bright, and humans together could achieve anything.